Alright, let's start at the bottom. Number 10. The bear trap underwear. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night because a tiny steel bear trap just went off inside your underwear. That wasn't a nightmare. It was an actual device you could buy through a mail-order catalog in the late 19th century. In 1870, the United States Patent Office officially approved a metal ring, lined with sharp, inward-facing teeth, designed to be worn while you slept. If you had a dream and things started expanding, the teeth would bite into the skin and instantly wake you up in agony. The inventors marketed this medieval torture device as a legitimate medical cure for nervous exhaustion and fatigue. They claimed the physical pain would train the body to stop wasting energy at night. Medical records from the era show it didn't cure fatigue at all. It just gave otherwise healthy men severe lacerations and aggressive blood infections from unwashed metal resting against open wounds. Men were literally risking tetanus just to stop themselves from having a good time. But wearing a spiked collar down there was actually pretty tame compared to the supernatural powers the internet expects you to get today. Number 9. The glowing eyes. Modern forum users have convinced themselves that going 90 days without touching yourself will literally alter your DNA. The current lore states that retaining your fluids grants magnetic attraction, cures social anxiety, and physically changes your eye color to a glowing, vibrant shade. Biologists point out this is just what happens when depressed people finally start drinking water and getting 8 hours of sleep. The forum users insist it's their concentrated masculine life force leaking out of their pupils, which sounds exhausting, but at least they aren't blaming their bedrooms for literal blindness like the guys in the 1700s. Number 8. The spinal leak. In 1758, a Swiss physician named Samuel Tissot wrote a wildly popular book claiming that a single drop of human seed was mathematically equivalent to 40 drops of blood. He argued that touching yourself physically drained the essential fluids directly from your spinal cord, causing your brain to slowly dry up like a raisin. Tissot stated this friction-induced brain rot would lead to memory loss, full-body paralysis, and instant, permanent blindness. To back up his claims, he cited documented cases of men dropping dead immediately after finishing. Modern doctors looking at those same historical notes point out that those men almost certainly just had undiagnosed brain aneurysms that ruptured from high blood pressure. Tissot didn't care about blood pressure, he just needed a scary story, and his medical panic was enough to make an entire generation aggressively change how they ate. Number 7. The bland cracker. Sylvester Graham believed that spicy food made people unacceptably horny. In the 1830s, this Presbyterian minister decided the only way to stop the youth from ruining their dried-up brains was to completely eliminate all flavor from their diets. He invented the graham cracker, which at the time was an unsweetened, unflavored brick of coarse wheat, specifically to kill the human sex drive. Graham promised his followers that eating tasteless flour blocks and sleeping with the windows open in the dead of winter would purify their blood and stop their urges. Historical diaries from his boarding houses show the diet didn't stop anyone's impulses. It just gave a bunch of teenagers malnutrition and rampant scurvy. And if a dry cracker couldn't stop you, parents had a much more restrictive backup plan. Number 6. The handcuffed pajamas. By the 1890s, you could walk into a standard clothing store and buy children's pajamas that doubled as a straitjacket. These sleep shirts had the sleeves completely sewn shut at the ends or featured heavy canvas straps meant to be tied directly to the bedposts. Manufacturers sold them under the guise of being harmless posture correctors for restless sleepers. The reality was that kids just figured out how to use the friction of the mattress instead, which proved that external restraints don't work. So doctors decided the disease must be inside the skull. If you want a logical explanation for why human beings do this to each other, close the tab now, because we haven't even gotten to the silver wire yet. Number 5. The Cerebellum Ice Pack. During the height of the phrenology craze in the 19th century, medical experts decided that the back of the human head was the official headquarters of human lust. They believed the cerebellum acted as a battery for bad thoughts, and that you could diagnose a degenerate just by looking to see if they had a thick neck. To cure this, doctors bypassed the plumbing entirely and started applying literal ice packs and blood-sucking leeches directly to the base of patients' skulls. They claimed draining the hot blood from the brain would freeze the urges at the source. There is zero anatomical connection between the back of your neck and your pelvic floor, so the leeches didn't lower anyone's drive. They just left people with localized hypothermia and open sores. Leeches are bad enough, but they weren't going nearly deep enough to stop the true panic of the era. Number 4. The Asylum diagnosis. You could be thrown into a psychiatric ward just for feeling tired. Doctors invented a terrifying umbrella diagnosis called Spermateria, which they defined as the involuntary, invisible leaking of masculine life force. If a young man had dark circles under his eyes, lacked an appetite, or preferred reading to playing sports, he was diagnosed with chronic leaking. Medical texts from the 1800s claimed the only cure to keep these men from wasting away was full institutionalization. Asylum intake logs from the time show hundreds of men locked away for months. When modern psychiatrists review those exact same symptom logs, they easily identify that these men were just suffering from clinical depression, anemia, or standard insomnia. But at least in an asylum, you got a bed, because the medical treatments on the outside were straight out of a horror movie. Number 3. The chemical burn. A French surgeon named Claude Lallemand popularized a procedure where he would shove a hollow metal tube straight up a patient's urethra. Once inside, he would release a caustic chemical called silver nitrate to intentionally burn the inner lining of the plumbing. The official goal was to create so much internal scar tissue that getting excited would be physically impossible. The actual result was catastrophic urinary blockage, permanent organ damage, and frequent death by internal infection. And yet, the man who perfected the modern breakfast aisle had an even more permanent solution. Number 2. The acid treatment. John Harvey Kellogg is mostly known today for inventing cornflakes, which he designed to be utterly devoid of flavor for the exact same reason Sylvester Graham invented his crackers. But Kellogg wasn't just a cereal guy. He ran a massive health sanitarium, and his treatments for female patients were deeply unhinged. If a woman or young girl was brought to him for having a high drive or showing signs of hysteria, Kellogg would bypass the diet entirely and apply pure carbolic acid directly to her clitoris. He claimed in his medical journals that this was a totally harmless, painless way to permanently numb the area and cure the mind. Hospital logs and chemical realities confirm that pure carbolic acid causes agonizing third-degree burns, destroying the tissue and leaving the patient with lifelong, severe nerve damage. But Kellogg saved his absolute worst, most medieval procedure for the men, bringing us right back to where we started. Number 1. The silver wire loop. Kellogg didn't think dietary restrictions or cold water treatments were enough to stop a determined teenage boy. When a male patient at his Battle Creek sanitarium was caught masturbating, Kellogg turned to primitive body modification. He would take a length of solid silver wire and thread it through the patient's genitals, then twist it into a permanent loop, sealing the area shut. The procedure was performed with no anesthesia. In his own writings, Kellogg said the wire was meant to cause pain and irritation whenever the area was stimulated, a deterrent he considered necessary and effective. Modern medical historians note that Kellogg was essentially running an upscale wellness resort disguised as a hospital. He carried out unauthorized, unsafe procedures on teenage patients in pursuit of a strange personal moral campaign. The wire stayed in place until the behavior stopped, which often meant it remained until the tissue was damaged beyond repair or infection set in, leaving us with one bleak conclusion. People will endure real physical harm, isolate themselves in extreme ways, and inflict pain on their own bodies just to avoid sitting alone with their thoughts for 5 minutes. The subscribe button is down there. I'll be back with more of this, unfortunately.